And now, without any further ado, let us welcome our esteemed Zone Director, Patrick Eakes.
Good evening, Rotary friends, and welcome to this month's MAP webinar, The Power of Choice, Companion Clubs for Growth and Retention. We all know that growing membership while maintaining our existing members is the number one internal priority for Rotary International. In order for our organization to continue to be the leading force in providing service to our communities, locally and globally, we need to have members to do so. For us to continue to grow our funding to our Rotary Foundation, we need members to be inspired by the work of our foundation and be willing to gift some of their treasure to the furtherance of the great work that our foundation does, like finishing our work with polio eradication, putting clean water into communities that need it, helping mother and babies have healthier lives, creating successful community economic development to create sustainable futures, and ensuring prolonged environmental sustainability. All of these initiatives need our members to do them. And of course, all of this great work creates an enhanced public image. But you see, all this starts with the member. Everything begins with membership. And that's why our focus on membership growth is so vital. We can do more with more members. Tonight's webinar is focused on how we can leverage companion clubs to not only grow membership through new pathways into Rotary, but how they also can create an opportunity for our existing members to continue with Rotary when changes happen in their lives. Companion clubs work well both to grow and to retain members. This creates the power of choice. And friends, that follows the four-way test as well. It's my pleasure now to introduce Chris Jones, who serves as the vice chair of the MAP team. Chris was also one of the OGs from the original Innovative Club Advocate movement. He and I served as ICA partners in Zone 33 when that program launched in 2020. He also was my predecessor as the Zone 33 Rotary Coordinator. Dude knows a little bit about membership. So Chris, it's over to you, my friend.
Patrick, thanks so much for that kind introduction. Oh, geez. Well, I guess that's what we were. And I'm proud to be considered one of the OGs. And what a great time we had creating the many variants of innovative clubs. Zone 33 became the leader in North America with the ICA movement, and we've carried that tradition on. Thank you so very much for partnering with me in that endeavor. And during this time, you and I came across a gentleman who had created a club model that was going to change what we were doing. This club model was focused on creating clubs that served their community with service. No meetings, no rituals, just planned service projects and caring people serving their community. This turned into an incredible movement that then launched into the companion club model with almost 200 of these clubs open globally, all because one member wanted for his wife to be able to serve in Rotary. Listen to our presentation this evening for more on that topic. Folks, the companion club model has created a new pathway into Rotary, and I've personally experienced that in my own club, where we also have a companion club, and how members that would have ordinarily left Rotary when life changes happened, they were able to move their membership to our companion club and are still serving Rotary today. That created a win-win-win for the club, for the members, and our community. But it's not for me to tell you all about this. We have two exciting panelists here this evening that go over all of this information. The founder and creator of both the Impact and Companion Club models, Patrick Longano, and Jenny Stotts from Zone 30. Jenny currently volunteers as an assistant Rotary coordinator in Zone 30 and will become the Rotary coordinator this July. Some of us know her as Rotary Happy, and some others know her as Little Miss Red Tea Kettle. So let's recap and frame the show for this evening, exploring how companion clubs are fueling both growth and retention across North America. Patrick and Jenny, take it away.
Thank you, Chris. I really appreciate the nice introduction, and thank you for the rest of the MAP team for being here today and and for this presentation. Just a real quick background on Companions and the Impact Club. It started just like Chris said, when my wife, who's a school teacher, a kindergarten teacher, wasn't able to serve my club when I wanted her to become a member. We met Fridays at noon, and you know, back in the day, you had a lot of attendance requirements, and she wasn't able to make it to those meetings because she's a kindergarten teacher, and they are teaching school Fridays at noon. So I was bound and determined to figure out a way that she could serve our club, not just start a new standalone club, but start our club and serve our club just in a little bit different way. So in height of the pandemic in June of 2020, we started the first ever companion club in Lenore, North Carolina, and we grew to 79 members in our first year. It was focused on service, not necessarily coming to the meetings, and it's been very successful. So it was a start of a really neat journey, Jenny. You've been on it for a part of it with me, and soon after that, I got phone calls from other clubs saying, "Hey, can you help me?" And we've just kept helping people. So it's been a really neat process, and I've enjoyed every minute of it. So, Jenny, what do you think?
Sure. Well, first, I just want to thank everyone for letting me come over from Zone 30 and join your party tonight. So thank you all for having me this evening. And Patrick, thanks so much for inviting me along to talk about growing Rotary through this model and others. I actually, when Chris was kind of teeing us up a little bit, he talked a bit about how this model could actually grow clubs, and you saw that in your own, in your very first experience with this, Patrick. And I want to scan the Zoom room, if you will. So for everyone listening, if you wouldn't mind, in the webinar chat, which I know is already very active, but if you could think back to the past 1 to 2 years in your experience with your club, can you think of someone that you have invited to join Rotary, invited to get involved, and they said, "Oh, I can't do it because your club meets at this time and I'm unavailable, or I can't swing that, or I don't have the time for that." So if that has ever happened to you, where you've extended the invitation and someone has said, "I can't do it, it logistically doesn't work for me," could you drop a number 1 in the chat, please?
Whoa, Jenny.
Somebody get out their calculator and count
Woo!
up.
That is incredible.
So for everyone that we see in the chat, that's a missed opportunity for someone who would potentially be an amazing Rotarian, right? They would be able to bring energy into your club. They would perhaps bring new service opportunities into your club. They would be an extra set of hands in the projects you're already doing. So I think this is a great way to start this conversation, because there are a lot of opportunities within even within this webinar format, this community that we've formed for ourselves tonight. So I think there's a lot of potential here.
Jenny, I think you just proved the point of why we're here tonight. I absolutely love that. One of the things too that you're doing um, is the name of the webinar is the power of choice. And when there's something very dynamic when you're talking to somebody about Rotary. Like, say, think about these people that they couldn't make it to your meeting, so we never got to ask them, or they had to decline. Let me ask you, Jenny, do you think one of the things that we teach when we walk people through the steps is how to give people a choice? It's almost like giving them a menu. When you're talking with them about it, I could say, "Hi, Jenny, um, these are several ways that you can serve. You can serve our home club. They meet on Tuesdays. They meet at 7:30 in the morning. These are our signature projects. These are all of these wonderful things. Do you have any questions about that?" And then if they don't, you can say, "Here's another way that you can serve our club and our community and Rotary in general. And we made it service projects or whatever the cause base might be, whatever it is. Which way do you prefer to serve?" Now, one of the things that they're automatically going to do is they're going to choose one. if you only offer one choice, you've already seen how these people that might have wanted to join Rotary, but they couldn't because they were only given one choice. But the other thing is think about all the people that you've talked to that might have could have done it, but somewhere lingering in their mind, you gave them one choice and one choice only. And mostly, a lot of times, human beings will say, "Well, is there anything else out there? Let me check on some other things before I get back to you on it." But where if you give people a choice and they want to join, they're going to pick one that best suits their needs. So I'm all about giving people choices coming into Rotary, letting them serve the way that they need to.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think that that's incredibly true. When I talk with Rotary clubs from all over, one of the things I really like to talk to them about is who's in your club, right? What are those inputs looking like, and what does each of those individuals bring, but also what do they hope to gain from their membership into your club? And then the more important question is now, okay, now who's missing and why are they missing? And is there something that we can do about that? And in my mind, if they're missing simply because of logistics, that's a fairly straightforward problem to solve, right? That's something that we have a lot of control and autonomy over, particularly and even beyond a companion club model. But there's a lot of flexibility in Rotary. So clubs are encouraged to get creative. And I even saw some of this in the chat, recognizing different membership types, different dues structures to create more opportunities for people to engage and to contribute to Rotary. So when I think of creative corporate models, cause-based models, impact, heavy service focuses, we could come up with all kinds of names for them, but I think it really comes down to having a flexible, accessible membership experience for everyone. And I think that there's a lot of power in that, because every time we fold someone new into our organization gets stronger because we have their talent, we have their expertise, we have their reach, and we're expanding our reach through them. So I think that this model, among all of the flexible options that we have, really serve to enhance what clubs are already doing.
I think that's a really great insight onto what people are doing now. I said the other day I did a kind of like a little tour on a lot of pets this season, and it was so starkly different than it was 5, 6 years ago when the OGs, Chris and Patrick and Marty Hellman and all those, Mary Ligon and all those folks were doing the ICA movement, beginning the ICA movement. The biggest question I used to get, Jenny, are we allowed to do this? You know what I mean? It's not written down. I don't see it that we can get this done. And my response was always, you don't see it written down that you can't get it done, so let's just go ahead and get it done. But you know, the flexibility, these companion clubs can be anything. Impact was the first companion club because it's just the one that I did, but I'm seeing a lot more cause-based companions. Companion just signifies that it stays with and works with the home club. All of its members count as the home club members. So you have all of those benefits, but what you're doing at that point, besides giving choices, is you're signifying to the community that you live in that we're not just about certain things. We're not about this thing in the fall, this thing in the spring, that we reach out because it's not just what our clubs do, it's what our Rotarians do. And if we promote what our Rotarians do and not just what our clubs do, you are going to grow. You know what I mean? We're Rotarians and we don't like to shine light on ourselves. We don't. But to bring people along with you to do good in the world, you have to first let them know what you're doing. So this is a really, really good way to do that. I've been really happy and ecstatic, and I really feel like right now we have the momentum that some of maybe the membership challenges that we face in North America are real. But I really feel that the momentum has changed, and some of those people that were maybe some hardline folks at the beginning did not know if we were allowed to do this or not. Everybody's kind of pitching in and jumping on the front line. So it is really, if you see me with a smile on my face, you'll know it's because I've been out there and I feel like, everybody's pushing towards this. What do you feel, Jenny, when you're out there?
I think you made an interesting point about people asking, is this allowed? Or, and whether it's Rotary or any other organization or business, innovation happens in our communities. When we think about all of the most amazing things that Rotary has ever accomplished, they started in our communities. They started with Rotarians and Rotaractors recognizing a problem, recognizing an issue to be solved, and coming together. So whether we think about polio, we think about some of our amazing service projects, some of our disaster relief efforts, those all happen. Those start in our communities. So that innovation happens at the club level, and then we can grow and expand it from there. So if it's something that you've never heard of or you've never seen, you just haven't seen it yet. So, be curious about that, explore it. And, you just might, tap into something that can spread in a really meaningful and productive way. And I think that that's how innovation happens. And, that I think that we should embrace that. Now we talked about growth, I know already, kind of how we can use these models to grow. And I actually want to turn back to the group and think about this from a different area. Yeah, so get your keyboards ready. And this time I would like for you to think, everyone that's out there listening tonight in our conversation, is to think about, in the last year or so, maybe 2 years, can you think of someone who has left your club because the logistics no longer worked for them? So they left your club because they couldn't attend the meetings anymore, their job changed, something like that. If that has happened to you, drop a 1 in the chat.
This like watching this is like watching them do like the bingo. The balls just going around there. It's crazy.
So I hope someone's got a calculator out there, because those are all of the folks who've left Rotary because logistically, right? It's just logistics. So those missed opportunities, I think about every one in this signifies a Rotarian who's not helping on a service project, a Rotarian who's not meeting with the community, a Rotarian who's not connecting with the Rotary Club across town to work together. So I think when we think about growth opportunities, that's an important conversation to have. But me really caring about membership and caring about the membership experiences that our clubs offer, this issue of retention and kind of shutting down that exit ramp. I think that this is another opportunity that we have where we can solve simple logistic problems.
Yeah. I mean, Jenny, before, when people came up to you and said, hey, and they always say it the same way, I really don't want to leave service to the club. And you're like, the butt's coming. But, their life changed. And everybody, I mean, the only thing we know in life is that life is going to change again. So the real successful clubs, and we do a 4-step process in this thing, and I had to do it because we've just had so many people asking it, but if you go through the 4-step process, it helps you with objections. It helps you weigh all of these types of things. But when you're sitting there, if you had this in your back pocket, like Jenny, if you said that to me, I'd be like, Jenny, I understand. Life comes at you hard. I mean, I've been through it. And that's the only thing I know is it's going to change again. So I know you don't want to leave service to the club. Why don't we slide you over here? And I'll use Impact to the Impact Club. You can serve at your time and at your pace. And then when life changes again, you can re-enter into the home club, or you can just stay right where you're at, wherever you're doing. If you give people choices coming in and options before they leave, they're going to pick that option. I was real proud of a club down in the Orlando area. I'm real proud of all my clubs, but there was a club that was chartering right around the end of the year, and DG Don Harris's at the end of his year, the Lake Mary Club and they had 7 people that were leaving for life reasons. And we sped up the paperwork and got this thing done for them, and they saved 7 out of 7 people.
That's
So, I mean, that's where the real growth happens, is if you can give people an option to stay and use it for growth. This is not just growth. I think Terry Weaver was one of my favorite people in Rotary a lot of times. He's got these best one-liners, and he was talking about you can't out recruit attrition, or I can't remember exactly what it was. Sorry, Terry, I know you're on here and I probably butchered it, but you really can't. So you have to have a full package like this to be able to use it to slow attrition. You're never going to negate it, but you have to slow it and then use it for growth. And then that's really when the turnaround happens. So choices coming in and options before they go. So Jenny, if you were able to use something like this, do you think making sure that we teach it in that 4-step process, not just to use it to grow, but to use it to retain, do you think that's a winning strategy?
I absolutely do. And, whether we're whether we're a companion club, a satellite club, an impact club, one question that I get often is, well, hey, we're in the business of trying to grow our club. We don't want to create competition. And I frequently say these flexible club models, whether it's a companion club, a satellite club, an impact club, they're an enhancement to your club. They are not competition to your club. And Patrick, I know that you have a wealth of examples because you've helped start so many of these and get them going. And one thing I'm just interested in, I think everyone listening in today would be interested in, is if you have examples where clubs have started doing new things because of the existence of this companion club. Do you have a highlight to share?
Oh, goodness gracious, a ton of stuff. There's so many great examples of them out there. The Dr. Phillips Club is fantastic out there. And they have a gentleman that runs their Impact Club, but they had really wonderful support at the main club because they believed right up front the same thing that we're all people. It doesn't matter if you're in a companion or a satellite. We're all members of the same club. We're just serving just a little bit differently. So, and they believe that right off the bat. And really, the stuff that the Impact Club brought to them, their types of service projects. You saw people from their main club going over there. They have a wonderful the secretary that was over there, Mary Ellen Kerber. If you ever in Orlando, look her up. She's amazing. And it was so they really acted like that. I know in my club, I could give you an example, Jenny. I don't, when I'm recruiting, when I'm talking to people, I'm sure a lot of people on here have heard, don't invite them to a meeting, invite them to a service project or invite them to a social. What we teach in step 3 is some of these types of things. One of the things that I saw that I did that was just a little tiny thing was asking them what they did. Because all the people that we're talking to are already doing the work out in the community, right? I mean, if they're Rotarians, they're already finding a way to do stuff in the community. So I'm really interested in what they do. And do you work at the Humane Society? Oh, I heard you work at oh, yep, absolutely, we do. Fantastic. What do you do? Oh, we do this and this and this and fantastic. The first question that you should do, because it's the right thing to do, is say, if I brought a couple of people next Tuesday when you're going to do your service, can we come along and do service with you? And it really just puts a twist on it. And so a lot of the clubs, getting back to your question there, is a lot of the clubs that have been through the program use that little technique, and they are exposed to more things that are out there. I had no idea we had that need in the community. I had no idea we even had that in our community. So by doing that, it helps your recruitment because the people know that you generally want to be interested in what they're doing instead of just recruiting them to do your stuff. But it also does so much other things. It sheds light on that nonprofit that might be marginalized in your community and not getting that information. I have seen more clubs that say that expand their reach that expand their reach into their community because they find out different things, about that community through the people that they're recruiting into the club. So a lot of the clubs that are out there, Wilmington, Delaware's club does that. A lot of our clubs do that. So, but those are the types of things that we teach in the 4 steps. It's not just following a piece of paper. You have to come through the steps and learn these types of things that go along with the greater engagement after the fact.
Awesome. Well, I know that I know we could sit and talk about this stuff all night long.
We could.
But I just want to say, from, especially coming from Zone 30, and we look to the work that your zones here in 33 and 34 are doing, and continue to be incredibly impressed. And we're learning every day from all of you. So I continue to appreciate the generosity of our neighbors to the east in sharing your wisdom and all of your great work, because while Rotary will certainly benefit, what excites me the most is that our communities are going to benefit. Our communities deserve strong, vibrant Rotary clubs, and they depend on us. So I think that this is one more way that we can reach and serve even more people in our communities. So thank you for continuing to share and be an exemplar for all of us.
Yeah, Zone 33 and 34, we're standing kind of on the shoulders of giants. I've always thought about that, Patrick and Terry and all those people, Mike Dara and all those people that came, before us. So, we just continue to grow, and but we've learned a lot from Zone 30 and 31 as well. I mean, I have, just by talking with you a lot. So, I really appreciate it, and I think that, I think even though that there's wonderful collaborations out there, in these intra-zone type things that we do, there'll be a lot more in the future, I can promise you. So
Great.
that's great. And then are we getting in? We got to kick it back to Chris, I believe. Chris, are you there? Chris, is that you?
Yeah, Patrick, that's me.
What
So
did
thank
you do?
The chat is hopping, so I can't wait to get to questions.
Yeah, the chat is awesome. So you guys have been really active here this evening, and what a great presentation from Jenny and Patrick. They gave great examples of adding members, of saving members, the value proposition of what a companion club is. They talked a little bit about the differences between a companion club and a satellite club, and how an impact club fits into all that. I know there's a lot of questions that you all have. And if you didn't put your questions in the Q&A section and you put them in the chat, just go back and grab them real quick, put them in the Q&A, and we'll get to them as many as we can. And we're going to ask Jose to handle our Q&A this evening with Jenny and Patrick. So Jenny and Patrick, make sure you keep your cameras on. We'll keep you spotlighted so that Jose can ask you all these great questions that have come across. Jose, take it away.
Thank you very much, Chris, for that introduction. And thank you, Patrick and Jenny, for providing that insight on companion clubs. Very informative and highly engaging. I really appreciate it. As a reminder for our audience, just as Chris just stated, this is your time to shine. And so if you have any questions, please drop them into the Q&A. If you haven't done so yet, you'll have to grab them from the chat if you put them there and put them right into the Q&A. And if you're on mobile, you'll have to click those 3 little dots, the little menu, so you can see the Q&A. But with that, we'll jump right into the first set of questions that we have. And I got to tell you, Patrick, the number one question that has come up countless times in the Q&A is if you can give us, Patrick, an explanation on the difference between an impact club and a companion club.
Absolutely. I really appreciate it. Companion clubs, in my opinion, okay, I don't want to define it for Rotary, but hey, if you guys can still drop something in the chat, drop a number 1 in the chat if you love the word satellite. Yeah, same thing. That's just the opposite there. So there's a little bit of a disconnect, and somebody put 0. Thank you so much. That made me laugh. But anyway, when I was talking with clubs in doing this, my number 1 job is to help clubs move down the line to getting this done. And whenever I got to that step 2, and I got in front of a board, or I got in front of some people that might have had challenging questions, they said, as soon as I used the word satellite, they freaked out. I mean, I couldn't get past that. So I started to use the word companion and it helped me get over it. Now, impact is just a type of companion. You can have a cause-based companion, you can have like a an environmental companion, you can have anything you can dream up. We can make that into a companion club. A companion club just denotes that its stated purpose is to stay with and build up the home club. Where a satellite, I'm just kind of going with the flow of what people already believed, even though that wasn't necessarily the case written down. People believe that a satellite club started with 8 people, they grew up to 20, and then they broke away. And there was just that no amount of marketing or salesmanship could overcome that. So a companion is stated to stay with the home club, and a satellite club is used to break off and become its own. Now, again, an impact club is a type of companion, and it's probably the most well known, just because it's been out there, and we've gotten a lot started. It's a service based. It doesn't mean that it's only service. It's service based. A lot of our impact clubs do one social where they'll have a little meeting there, and then they'll plan their big service project, and then they encourage small group and individual service projects on others. So the great part about going through the steps is we get to design whatever it is that the club wants to do. This isn't a one size fits everybody. When we meet during the steps, we talk about what you guys dream up, and we design the companion club that you want. So that's where we're at. Hope that answered the question, Jose.
And it did, Patrick. Thank you very much for the explanation. And speaking of the 4 steps, keep that top of mind because I'm seeing a bunch of questions come about that. So I'll probably ask you about that later today. But Miss Jenny, the next one's up for you. And overwhelmingly, we've seen this come multiple times in reference to the resistance that often comes from club leadership when we start to talk about either satellite clubs, impact clubs, companion clubs. How would you say that is the best way to manage resistance from club leaders who don't want to formulate a companion club? What's the best strategy to help win them over?
Yeah, so that's an excellent question, and it's fair, right? It's a fair question. It's a fair hesitation, and so I really would take 2 steps backwards and talk to those club leaders, whoever's in this conversation, and ask them what is their goal, not what's my goal, as an assistant Rotary coordinator, not what the goal of the district membership chair or the district governor is, but ask that club, what's their goal? And if their goal is to serve their community, okay, well, how do we do that? What do we need to do that, right? There's a lot, we need to understand our community. We need people, it'll inevitably return to, we need people to be able to do that. We need members to help lift up the work that we're doing. And I think if we frame the conversation of what's your goal, and this is one way that you can meet that goal, I think that it's really important to emphasize when we're talking about companion clubs that it is an enhancement, not a competition. And all of the members of the companion club are members of that club. Patrick already hit on that topic, but this is a way to grow and expand your club and uncover new opportunities that you might not have even considered or thought of. So this really is an enhancement, not competition. And I think if we keep these discussions goal oriented, because I say we're not growing Rotary we don't need to grow Rotary just to put impressive numbers up on the board. We need to grow Rotary because it expands our capacity to do good in the world. And there's a lot of work left to do, right? Until, I always say, until every child's fed, until polio is eradicated, until everyone has clean water and all children know how to read, there's a lot of work left for Rotarians to do. And we cannot do it on our own. We can only do it if we expand our capacity.
Yeah.
Miss Jenny, I have to tell you, I love the way you responded to that because you're right. We have to look for those opportunities to help fill the needs, and these companion clubs can do that for us and help us overcome the many challenges that our world still faces. Thank you
We
for
say
that.
that companion clubs don't compete, they complement.
That's going to be our tagline for the end of tonight. Don't forget the y'all.
There
There
you
we
go.
go. Now, Miss Jenny, this next question actually comes for you as well, and someone's asking about in reference to the way the structure of the club is set up. Does a companion club require to have a completely separate board and a president? How does that actually function?
So I'll let Patrick chip in too, but there's a lot of flexibility around satellite clubs and companion clubs and impact clubs. So it might look different in each and every club. So I have seen clubs that have had chair people. So, you know, they have chairs kind of managing the companion club, and they have a group of leaders that are working on that. I've seen some home clubs that still have the chairperson or the organizer of the companion club having a sitting spot on their board to facilitate that collaboration. Same thing with dues structures. Just like your more traditional or legacy type Rotary Club can have a variety of dues structures, the same flexibility and the same variety is available through the companion club model. So I know that there are lots of templates out there. I'm sure Patrick has them. I also have several templates and examples of dues structures, different, you know, bylaws, constitutional amendments, policies surrounding this. So there's a lot of support available to you if you're thinking about this. Don't let the paperwork get in your way. Either, you know, reach out to Patrick's team, reach out to your district governors, to your assistant Rotary coordinators, to your Rotary coordinator, because there are a ton of resources available to you, and we can find something and adapt it to meet your specific clubs and companion clubs goals. But Patrick's the true expert. So what did I miss, Patrick?
Jenny, I can retire now. You got it. I mean, you got it. No, actually, you know, the funny part about it is after all the clubs that I've done by Rotary Club Constitution, you can have a full board. But there's only been one that I've done that, you know, said that they wanted a full board. You got to keep it simple. Remember, this is kind of like a piece of paper. And all these people, there's some people in the chat going, we'll just do a committee or we'll just do a membership type. The people who put that in there, book a step call and let me tell you why you'll grow and be able to retain faster if you do this structure. There's a reason why we do this structure, okay? But I try to keep everything as simple as you can. When you go through the program and everything, we do all the paperwork for you. You don't have to go and try to find it anywhere. We've got support of the RCs. We always, you know, work with our wonderful RCs that are in our any area that we're working with, the ARCs, the district governors. But we complete the paperwork for you. We don't want you having to think about that or trying to navigate that. And I'll skip over the money one because I know that question's coming next, Jose, pretty close. So, you know, we'll address that in a minute, but it's keep it as simple as you possibly can. And we help you do that.
And I'm thrilled to hear that you helped them do that, Patrick, because I think many people are asking, how is it that you help them? The question came up multiple times, and I know you're going to have an opportunity for everyone on the call today to schedule a step one with you and the team. But if you can just give us a brief overview or the names of each step, what are people going to go through in those steps before they actually schedule the step one with you?
Really, step one's kind of like a visioning type thing. We sit down and we can just have a one-on-one chat. You know, with the usually in a club, you're going to have that one or two or maybe even three spark plugs that get this and they get in passion or like, this is what we need to do. They're not ready to give up. So they schedule a step one and we kind of vision. We sit there and talk about what they would like their club to do. We talk about their community. We talk about Rotary in general. And we kind of, you know, work on, you know, what they think might be some of the obstacles. Instantaneously after they're off that call, they'll automatically get an email to schedule a step two. Now, in a step two, they're usually encouraged to bring a few more people. Some have even said, I talked with my board. Can you talk with them? And I'll say, of course. And they get their board on the call. And step two, there's a lot of times that clubs stay in a step two for quite some time. And as we work through the questions and overcome objections, you know, you've heard them, Jose. You've been down there. I mean, our whole map team heard them. Jenny hears them. And all we do is just sit there, answer every question. Don't pressure, just answer the questions and help move them along. When they're done with the step two call, they'll get an automatic email that says, hey, if you need to book another step two, let's go. If you want to go ahead and book a step three because you're board approved, go ahead and do that. And step three is really when it gets fun. I mean, we really start to have a lot of fun in step three because that board approval and that process is behind you and we're here ready to go. and we get a commitment on how many founders we're going to get. We get a commitment on the date that we want to do it. We go over some of the things that we want to go over, and then we start talking about recruiting techniques, because I guarantee you, I haven't looked at the chat, but I guarantee it's like, okay, where are we going to get these people? That's what this step 3 is, exactly what we go over. We state a number that we're going to get, and then we break it up into what I call buckets, and we choose our buckets together, and then we move forward. And the whole time that we're doing that, we have folks here that will complete the paperwork behind the scenes for you as you're doing it. So whenever we picked our induction date, we usually cut it off 7 days before, and all the paperwork goes out DocuSign, so it's all electronic, and then it goes straight to CDS. So it's a very I've failed miserably over the last 5 or 6 years, a bunch of times, until we've gotten to this point where it is worked out, very, very specific, exactly what we do. And we've done it a bunch. So we can help you with whatever you want to dream up.
Thank you for that overview, Patrick. And once again, everyone on the call today, you will have an opportunity to scan a QR code to book that step 1. But Patrick, you brought this up earlier. You knew it was going to come about. People were going to ask about the dues structure and the way this functions with each club. There is the general question out there is, how do you determine what the actual dues will be for a companion club? As well as, do you have any examples that you've worked with clubs that have pretty much become the template that you utilize?
I like the way you asked that, Jose. You teed me up pretty good. Thank you. Guys, I shared an ICA call. I shared the top 20 objections that I've got over the last 5 or 6 years. I've got a document, so if anybody wants it, email me. I'll go ahead and send them to you. And then what I do to overcome those. Number 1 is, what is it, Jose? Money. Always comes down to money. Number 2 through 20 are other things, but it comes down to what, Jose? Money. It's the number 1 killer on it. And I'm going to tell you this. It's whatever the club decides. It's each individual club. As we go through that step 1 and step 2, those are a lot of the rejections that we have to go. I know everybody on the planet would like, this is how much it is for these type of clubs, and that's how it goes. It's not how it goes. Sometimes you have to sit there and talk with a club's board to explain to them that they don't go to the meeting, so they shouldn't pay, for the meals. So, sometimes you have to talk about those types of things, and they're tough conversations. And that's the reason why sometimes you stay in a step 2. But if you start at point A and, Z is completing the task, our job is just to sit here and make sure that we, at any point that you can fall off the path, we're putting people back on. And money is the third rail in Rotary. It just really is. So we work through those issues with you, and we talk about best practices. A lot of our clubs will do what I say a lot of times is make it an even number when you're doing it. So I had a club that came up and said, we're going to do 265. No, don't freak out, because you don't have to be 265. But when they called and said, we're going to do 265, I said, can you do 240 or 300? And they said, why? I said, because there's nothing sexy about saying it's $21.72 a month. It's the cost of Netflix. No, you try to do 20, 25, 35 on those lines, so you can market it to all of the people. You want younger people in your club? You better give them the options. So it doesn't mean you have to collect it monthly, but you need to be able to speak in their terms. So, and that's not just for young people, that's for basically everybody who turned into, that kind of category. So it's those types of things. We work with each club to overcome the objection on money. It's not something you can solve sitting here. Don't think about that as a reason not to book a step 1. Get in here, we'll talk about it, and we'll help you overcome any of those objections and flesh out whatever it is that you want your club to be.
Wonderful. Thank you very much, Patrick. And Miss Jenny, you're going to get the final question for the night for us. And it's going to help us run us out. What is your number 1 recommendation for why anyone should be starting a companion club?
I think I've already said this, so I hate to repeat myself, Jose, and sound like a broken record. But when we grow Rotary, it expands our capacity to do good in the community.
That's my favorite saying of the night. Thank you very much, Miss Jenny, and thank you very much, Patrick, as well, for your time today. It's been a pleasure to be here with the both of you and everybody in attendance. After that, I'd like to pass it on to my good friend Chris Jones, who's going to run us out to close us out for the night. And so that means Chris Jones, the floor is yours, sir.
Thanks, Jose. Much appreciated. And Barbara, if you could put up that slide with the QR code on it, that would be awesome. And if you have an interest in learning more about companion clubs or starting a companion club for yourself, please click on that QR code. There's also a link earlier up in the chat that you can click on the link. It's the same link as the same place that that QR code goes. So really appreciate Jose moderating our Q&A segment this evening and those in the background that worked on it. Patrick and Jenny, what a great presentation that you had this evening on the power of choice and how companion clubs can help us with growth and retention. If you want to learn more, just click on that QR code shown on the screen. If you've missed any part of this webinar, you can watch it by going to rizones33-34.org/membership-action-plan. So join us on the next MAP webinar on Monday, May 12th at 5:30 Eastern, where we'll talk about crafting a plan for success. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you on May 12th. That's all, folks.